Hello friends and welcome. I'm Sarah Liz and I am back with another emergency card kit. If you're new to my channel, an emergency card is one where we make the cards ahead of time, but we leave the sentiments off. That way, when an occasion arises, we can choose the card that best fits the recipient and the sentiment that best fits the occasion. To help you with this, I release a free printable full of sentiments and a card sketch on the first and third Friday of every month. And lately, I've been releasing surprise bonus kits and printables as well. Let's take a look at the kit. We have two themes this time. We have adulting awards and then we have retirement sentiments. And you may notice that we've had a bit of a makeover here. So in the top right, you will have in rather large font the theme for those sentiments. I found that was a really easy way for me to start flipping through my kits and finding the sentiments I was looking for. You will also find a QR code that will take you either to the video or to my blog post where you can get the video and maybe the stepped up video too. And hopefully that will help you if you're reaching for an older kit to find the video that goes with it. So this first set of sentiments is kind of fun and quirky and lighthearted. We have didn't overthink, didn't quit your stupid job, didn't eat all the chips, woohoo, wore a bra all damn day, world's okayest coworker, world's okayest sister, world's okayest engineer, which was recommended to be added to this kit by my engineer husband. Top marks in sarcasm, went to therapy, spent $0, ate plants today. And I wanted it to say sort of against my will, but I think that's a given. Good effort, buddy. Drove by the gym, said no, and stuck with it. Quitter of the year, which is one of my favorite awards. I don't know about you guys, but I work at a place where we end up volunteering or getting voluntold for extra work. And so when the day comes around that you get to quit that thing, it's like the happiest day. And it's usually like a 3-year cycle. The happiest day of that 3 years. Didn't swear in public today. So the first page has circle sentiments. They are 1 3/4 of an inch. And then there's a printed circle that's just a little bit bigger that I use to help me get my punch or my die centered. The next page has the exact same sentiments in the same size, but without that circle. So you could use a different size circle or a different shape altogether. Then we have our rectangle sentiments. These are 2 1/4 by 1 1/4, and you can cut these out with your trimmer. You don't need any punches or dies at all. Then we have the same sentiments again in strip fonts. If you connect these tick marks on the blade of your trimmer, they'll be about 1/4 inch, and those come in 4 fonts. So here are the first 2, and then the second 2. Then we also have retirement sentiments. If you have requests for particular themes, just go ahead and put them in the comments below. Coming up, we will have a sympathy kit that is almost done. I have room for about 2 more sentiments. So if you have a particular request and you feel very strongly about it, put that in the comments as well. I will also be releasing a summer fun and beach themed kit. Think like ice cream and sand and palm trees and those sorts of things. So any ideas for puns or sentiments there, I would love to hear. I will have a wedding and anniversary kit this summer, but some of these difficult kits, sympathy, wedding and anniversary is a big deal, right? I want to take my time. I want to do it right. And so I have to spread those out kind of for my own sanity. So it's coming, I promise. If you have ideas, put them in the comments. I will also be releasing sub-sentiment kits. I love word dies, really big ones that take up like the whole card, and then it is the card and it's really quick and easy. It's like an emergency card, you guys. It's great. So I'm going to be starting with happy birthday. I would love to know what strip sentiments or sub sentiments you would like to have to go with that. They can be sweet and kind. They can be sassy and funny. These are, I think, a really great way for us to stretch the word dies that we have. So that is coming up as well. Lots of fun things this summer. For retirement sentiments, we have happy retirement. Get out of here. You will be missed. Not by me, but I'm sure someone will. You worked your whole life for this card. Happy retirement. Blur's Day, somewhere between Monday and Sunday. See also retirement. Retired equals not my problem. And then we repeat those down here at the bottom. Like with the first set of sentiments, we have them with the circle around it and then without the circle. We have them in our rectangle fonts. And then we have them in those same 4 strip sentiment fonts. If you are interested in this free printable kit, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so that you'll be notified every time I have a new free download. On the last page of the kit is the card sketch, and this has also had a makeover. So the measurements for the card sketch are now on the sketch itself. I would love your feedback about whether or not this makes it easier to find those details or if you prefer it the old way, but it does leave more room for notes and ways to stretch a sketch. So for this sketch, I'm starting with an A2 panel. It's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm going to glue that directly onto my card base. I'm using a top folding A2, but it really doesn't matter for this card. For the next layer, I have pattern paper that is 4 by 5 1/4. So when you're looking for these measurements, they are listed in the top right corner of that sketch. It's the gray rectangle around it and then the pink one. And so I've tried to include some of those same labels to let you know for sure which piece I'm talking about. Then over on the left, we have a gray rectangle at 2 3/4 by 5 inches that I've cut actually out of gray this time. And then the piece on top is purple in the sketch. It's 2 1/2 by 4 3/4. And I ran mine through my Spellbinders embossing folder. It's the corrugated folder, and it just leaves this great textural detail that looks kind of like corrugated cardboard or corrugated metal, which I love. That should leave an equal margin all the way around that blue piece that matches the margin we have with our pattern paper and our navy piece. I'm going to add this to the left-hand side, and I'm looking for the same margin on the top, left, and bottom. At this point, I realized this is nearly identical to the first emergency card kit and sketch I ever released. If you just put a little circle right there and turn it into a fun fold with a mini card, that's it. I included measurements for the ovals in the sketch, but ovals are weird. It's why I don't use them in sketches very often, and I don't actually have dies in quite that size. So pick something close. Maybe it's an oval, maybe it's something sort of similar to an oval, like longer than it is wide. My oval dies are ancient. I think that was one of the first die sets I ever bought, so probably about 10 years ago. And they're a little wider than the ovals in the sketch, a little shorter. It's gonna work just fine. I'm going to center these two layered pieces right in the middle. I should have added a little foam tape on the right hand side because there's a really big lift from that corrugated embossing folder. So I'm going to tuck some 1 millimeter super thin foam under there just to level it out and make sure it doesn't get crushed later. To decorate my card, I'm using the Spellbinders small die of the month. I had one of these adorable parrots left over. There's also a toucan in there. And I wanted to give him a party hat. So this is the birthday wreath add-on. The hat is actually bigger than I wanted. So I am including just a little bit of die assembly because I wanted to show you how I cut this down. You could make this hat fit for so many of your critter stamps and critter dies. Like, I just love it. So I have cut one hat just as a solid piece and another with the inlay for the stripes. And I put glue all over the one on the back, and I will just layer those up. And you look at the hat on that bird and it's huge. Actually, I kind of think it's funny, right? You could leave it just like that, but I am just going to trim off the bottom and I'm giving it kind of a swoop like it originally had. I'm looking at it again and it's a little too swoopy, so I'll trim off a little bit more. There is a white piece of like ruffle that goes on the bottom. I cut mine out of white glitter cardstock, and I'm going to put that on the bottom with some glue. And I am trying to line up the indent of some of those scallops or ruffles kind of with the edge. And then I'll take my scissors in and I will just try to round it, starting at the scallop and moving up towards that top. And then I will smooth out the corner on that a little bit. And I'm going to do it on both sides. I did this while the glue was still wet, so I could sort of pull it up and away from the hat if I needed to, just to make everything a little bit easier. Then I'll add my little poof ball thing on the top. There's a couple options for that in the die set, and it's done. I'm going to add a little branch on here as well. I have in other videos shown you the complete assembly for the bird and the branch and all those sorts of things. I will link to the one that came out earlier this month. I make 5 cards using the small and large die of the month from Spellbinders. It's one of my favorite videos I've made in a while. So I just glued him straight onto his branch, and then I added a tiny bit of foam at the tip of the hat. It hangs off of that oval, and I wanted to make sure that it was supported. So I checked my placement, and then I'm adding a little bit of wet glue so I can wiggle it if I need to. I'm going to add a retirement sentiment to this card, and I wasn't sure if we were going to do happy retirement or get out of here, which just cracks me up. So I am putting this in my trimmer, and I am sliding my blade, connecting the bottom tick mark to the top tick mark, but I stop at that header, okay? So I'm doing all of them and leaving them connected at the top. I just have flaps. Then I will rotate and connect the tick marks on the side. If you cut all the way up from top to bottom, you won't have those tick marks on the side, and then it's much harder to kind of get everything centered and lined up. So here's the first one, and then maybe the second one. You know me, we're picking the funny one, like that's what's happening. I added a tiny bit of foam on my mat just because that is also hanging off of the oval. This mat, typically I cut to 2.5 by 1.5, but this time I did 2.5 by 1.25, just because I thought it fit better with our bird. On the sketch, you can see I have that rectangle kind of at the top. Honestly, move it wherever around that oval fits best for your layout. I added Get Out of Here with some removable adhesive, and card number 1 is done. And I absolutely love that parrot. For card number 2, we're going to make a masculine card. It is May, and I feel like we all feel the pressure to make some masculine cards as Father's Day is fast approaching. So again, I'm starting with my A2 layer on top of my card base, and then I have this patterned paper that I love, and I put it on here. This is 4 by 5.25, and by the time I started layering up my other pieces, I was so sad that I had covered up so much of that pattern. So my other piece, right, that rectangle piece is the same pattern. I just had to. And I think it's kind of fun, especially for a masculine card. My husband once told me he thought patterns weren't masculine, like patterns, period. I told him he was wrong, and I keep giving him cards with patterns because I love him. So I glued down my navy piece on that left-hand side, creating the same margin. And then don't ask me how long I spent trying to cut out a piece of that Argyle that matched the background. I wish I had a die. I almost grabbed my A7 dies to just cut that smaller rectangle out of the 4 by 5.25, but I didn't. Next, I'm using the mirrored arch labels. You guys have seen me use these in so many videos, and it's almost an oval, right? I laid it right over the sketch. It's got kind of the same proportions, and it's going to work great. So truly check your stash, see what you have, anything that's ovalish. I am just layering up my pieces. That white piece does have a little bit of shimmer because I think it needs a little something. I got smart. I added my 1mm foam on the side before I added it to my card base, and it's a little sturdier this way. If you don't use a lot of foam, I totally get that, but it is kind of nice just to have something to even out your layers if you do a lot of pattern paper layering. We're going to make a ribbon to go on the sketch, and this is the one that matches it exactly. It's 2.25 inches for the pink layer, 2 inches for the black layer, and then the white layer is your sentiment. For this card, I'm using a variation that has a 2 3/4 inch scallop mat instead of a 2 1/4 inch circle, because that's the size of the die that I had, but you could do 2 1/4, that would be fine. Here, I only did the 2 1/4 inch circle. So 3 options. There's lots of ways to do this. In the stepped up video, we're going to do a fancier something that can be taken off the card and kept as a magnet. It's going to be awesome. I am adding a circle that is 2 1/4 inches to the center of that scallop, and I love that this is going to have that little pop of shine in there. For the flags on the end of my banner, these are 1 inch by 3 inches. You can cut the flags yourself. They're not super hard, but I suck at it. I don't know why. I'm just not very good at it. So I am using this punch. This is new from Spellbinders, and it cuts flags at 1.5, 2.5, and 2 inches. But remember, our flag is 1 inch. So I have some 1/4 inch strips, and I added some removable adhesive only on the very end. And I'm going to slide those into the largest tray, right? There's like an indentation that is exactly those 3 widths. And you can see it here, it fits right between there. So what I did was to make kind of a channel that is 1 inch wide that will help me get those flags centered, okay? I don't want to stick them all the way to the back. I mean, I could if I'm not worried about wasting paper, but I'm stingy. So I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to go just until it is barely showing, and I will punch that. I was quite pleased at how easy this was to punch one-handed, left-handed, okay? So I'm going to show you one more time. I'm going to tilt it up because I actually can't see it when it's flat like that, right? Great for the camera, not great for me. And once it's in there, I'm going to punch it. And then my flags are perfect. That never happens, right? I'm just not great at cutting those by hand. If you don't have a punch or die for flags, what you're going to do is make a little pencil mark in the center about a 1/4 inch, not quite a 1/2 inch up on one end. Then cut up through the center to that pencil mark and then connect that center cut from either corner and you'll have a pretty good flag. So I have my ribbon put together and I can glue that straight onto my card, but if I want it to be removable so you could keep it, you can add another piece onto the back. So I am just adding wet glue and then I've cut another of those scallop circles and I'm letting the pretty side of that scallop face towards me right now, okay? Then I'm getting my placement and we're gonna add something snarky. You know, I'm gonna do the world's okayest engineer because my husband's birthday is coming up and he suggested this one. There are a ton of funny, snarky, adulting sentiments here, but you could put all kinds of stuff on here, right? It could just say happy birthday, world's best mom, world's best grandpa. There's tons of emergency sentiments that would fit really well on like an award like this. I've added removable adhesive and then I will add that onto my card so that he can take it off and save that. And that finishes card number 2. I want to show you something though. If I flip this over and I just rub my finger over that adhesive, it comes right off and it looks great. But if that adhesive sits on there for any amount of time, it will stain your darker cardstock, okay? So I made this card a couple of months ago. I'll link to it below in case you're interested. But you can see exactly where that adhesive was. Most of the time it doesn't matter because I'm gonna remove whatever sentiment is on there and cover it back up with a new one. But here I do mind. I'm gonna put it back on for now, but ultimately I recommend not adding that to your card until you're about to give it away if you want them to keep that ribbon. So that finishes our 2 cards for today. I would love to know which of these 2 is your favorite. And please let me know what you think about the new layouts for the kits, but also for the videos. We're doing a voiceover this time, which I don't usually do. If you're interested in the free printable, all I ask is that you subscribe to my channel. And if you ring that bell, you'll be notified every time there's a new free kit. Check the description box below for links to more videos and kits that we talked about in this video and for kit instructions. You can leave comments below if you have ideas for sympathy kits, birthday sub-sentiments, summer fun and beach kits, or wedding and anniversary kits. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I will see you next time.